I would say that in terms of the index fund, I would just take a very broad index. I would take the S&P 500 as long as I wasn't putting all my money in at one time. If I were going to put money into a index fund in relatively equal amounts over a 20 or 30-year period, I would pick a fund. And I know Vanguard has very low costs. I'm sure there are a whole bunch of others that do. I just haven't looked at the field. But I would be very careful about the costs involved. Because all they're doing for you is buying that index. I think that the people who buy those index funds on average will get better results than the people that buy funds that have higher costs attached to them, because it's just a matter of math. If you have a very high percentage of funds being institutionally managed, and a great many institutions charge a lot of money for doing it and others charge a little, they're going to get very similar gross results but different net results. And
you're buying America. And let me give you a figure that'll blow your mind, I think. I bought my first stock when I was 11 years old. It was the first quarter of 1942, shortly after Pearl Harbor. I spent $114.75. Three shares, $114.75. If I put that 114 into the S&P 500 at that time and reinvested the dividends, think of a figure as to what it would be worth today.
Oh man!
Well, it's
okay.
I just want your audience to think for a second.
Okay.
The answer is about $400,000.
Oh.
So if I, as a little kid, had taken that $114 I'd saved shoveling snow or whatever I'd done, $400,000 today, one person's lifetime. That's America. That isn't me. It is the huge tailwind the American economy gives to any equity investor. Now, the market's gone down many times during that time. People have panicked during that time. Headlines have been terrible. It looked like we were losing the war when we first bought it. But America is a powerful economic machine that since 1776 has worked, and it's going to keep working. Now, you don't want to buy to hold for a year. You don't want to buy with the idea that you could sell it in 2 years or 3 years, necessarily make money. You could lose money that way. But if you buy it for 10, 20, just keep buying the S&P 500 index and forget about all the other nonsense that's being sold to you, because I'll guarantee you one thing about the stuff being sold to you: it will carry bigger fees than what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to think that we don't know if it's 400,000, but that same sort of process or returns won't happen starting right now.
The S&P 500 companies have earned well over 10% on equity, often 15% annually for years and years and years and years. They've done it with Democratic administrations, with Republican administrations. Now, you get money compounding at that kind of rate underlying your investment, and you get a diversified group of that. I mean, you're going to do well.
Knowledge early is very useful. So, I would say you're well on the way if at 11 you're even interested in coming to a meeting like this. And I would, if that interest is maintained, I would read financial publications. I would read whatever was of interest to me. I'd be curious about how the businesses around the town of Kearney operated. I would, to the extent that you can get people to talk to you, and people usually like to talk, learn about who's got good businesses in Kearney and why they're good businesses, and learn about the businesses that went out of business and why they went out of business, and just keep accumulating knowledge. That's one of the beauties of the business that Charlie and I are in, is that everything is cumulative. The stuff I learned when I was 20 is useful today. Not necessarily the same way and not necessarily every day, but it's useful. So you're building a database in your mind that is going to pay off over time. If I gave you a car, and it'd be the only car you get in the rest of your life, you take care of it like you can't believe it. Any scratch, you'd fix that moment. You read the owner's manual, you keep a garage, do all these things, and you get exactly one mind and one body in this world. And you can't start taking care of it when you're 50. By that time, you'll have rusted out if you haven't done anything. So you should really be sure that you just remember that you just got one mind and body to get through life with, and you do the most with it.